Welcome back to another episode of Built from the Inside Out. Today I have with me my amazing husband as my co-host.
How's it going?
And as guests, we have William and Raul, which are veterans, local business owners, podcasters, change makers.
That's going on the resume.
Yeah.
Welcome, guys.
We appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. This is interesting because we are here from the Pireland podcast studio, which is ours, and you guys asked us to be a guest, and it's humbling. So thanks for having us, really.
Yeah, of course. So for those watching, we actually met them because I was looking for a podcast studio. I had taken a break, as you guys know, and then I Googled podcast in Pearland, and I came across there. So I was like, let me go check it out. And then Juan and I came in after the gym, and you guys just seem very welcoming, very nice, and we love the setup. So that's how we met them. And then so you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves.
We're both actually. I'm gonna speak.
Go for it, brother.
Yeah, nah. We're both Army veterans. I served 10 years, and William served 13. We both did time in at war. Yeah,
I love that. Did time. It always sounds like hard labor.
So we didn't meet in the service. Actually, we met after the fact. You know, I came home. When I got back and I got out of the Army, I had a lot of trouble adjusting to normal life again, because I was just, for so long I was used to just being a soldier. When I got out, I was confused on what I was going to do next, or what my name was, to be honest with you, because I was always Sergeant Moreno or something like that. And then I get back and I kind of lost my way. So I struggled with PTSD and addiction heavily when I got back. And I struggled for a long time, a couple of years, before I realized that there was an issue. I got in trouble, thankfully, and then I was forced to do treatment court. So I went through counseling and did all this rehabilitation and things of that nature. And then, it brought us here. This is where we're at. I just hit my 4-year mark of sobriety. So yeah. So I mean, amazing things have been happening. So keep going.
Yeah, that's a pretty good abbreviated version.
And then how did you two meet?
I used to work at a nonprofit.
Grinder.
I used to work at a nonprofit, and there's a Houston Regional Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and Raul had just joined, and I had joined too. So it's like a Chamber of Commerce, but it's just for veterans and those passionate about helping veterans. And I'd seen that he was a podcaster, and I wanted to get into podcasting. This is in 2001. So a few misconnections. We finally met on a Zoom call, actually FaceTime for like an hour almost. And I laid it out to him. I was like, hey man, I just want to do podcasts. I want to get on your podcast. I think we could do some cool things. I love Charlie Mike. I love what it means, which if you don't know, Charlie Mike means continued mission. And so it's all about bigger than us. How do we help others find their way as well? Sharing the stories. I listened to a lot of the podcast, and then February of 2022, I came on as a guest, and then the next time I came on as a co-host, and then we never looked back. Sure enough, here we are in the things together.
Can't get rid of them, yeah.
Life partners. Yeah, he's the godfather to my 2 youngest girls. Jelly's actually the godmother to our girls. She's running the controls right now. So it's it's work and life and business and life is all commingled now. But that's kind of where we're at now.
So podcasting wasn't even on the table originally. It was I started an apparel company. Charlie Mike Military Apparel was a clothing company that we had started, and it was a brand. It was just motivational things, and it was catered to like veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, things like that. But it got success early on, and then COVID happened. And then once COVID happened, nobody was trying to buy new shirts and shit to sit around the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then I was using that time to heal myself, but out networking with veterans, trying to let everyone know that, hey, you're not alone. This is a team effort. We're all together in this, because that's the message that I felt like I needed to hear at one time, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I did feel that way. And I promised myself one night, I was like, I ain't never going to let anybody feel that way again. So that's how the apparel company started. So when COVID hit, I started podcasting. I got a book that said How to Podcast for Dummies. And this is no bullshit. And then I got a mic and then, small, simple, cheap things. And I started in a closet because of the acoustics and things like that.
Yeah.
So I started it and it picked up traction. I was able to monetize it. And then COVID ended and I still kept podcasting. And then that's how I met William. And then William came in and, man.
Love that first sight.
Yeah. It was. Actually, he stalked me for a little bit.
I did.
You poked him on Facebook.
Bro, I totally forgot about that feature. Oh,
I was his top friends on MySpace.
I was a top contributor. And all those things, if you listen to a podcast or books, the business owners, they'll tell you want to get noticed by someone, get into their circle, leave comments, like their photos, message them, DM them. And here we are.
That's awesome. Something you touched on, you said a minute ago that when you started it and you're like, I don't ever want anybody to feel the way I felt at that time. It's a huge message. And I heard it on a podcast before. It's like when you start something, you're passionate about it and you're helping others, you need to speak to the person. You need to be that voice that you needed at that time. So that's awesome that you hit that right off the back and you found your purpose right away.
Yeah, it was humbling. And, I said it from the beginning. I was like, we change one person. If one person sees, sees our brand or sees the podcast and is like, because of them guys, I'm not going to do what I was going to do. And suicide is real high in veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, nurses, doctors. And we've had that happen already where someone was like, hey, man, you saved my life. And that's it, man. Nothing else matters.
Yeah. And it's funny, all those exchanges come through the DMs, right? There's a lot of hate on socials, no matter what you do. So those main comments don't matter much. It's the individual comments you get in the DMs because people won't show themselves like that. People act tough online too, but yeah, seriously, like he said it, and I've had family members tell me the same thing, like distant cousins, and they're like, "Hey, man, I really love your stuff." And I'm like, I didn't realize you watched me like that, but I appreciate it.
So what all do you guys talk about on the podcast? Like, do you have veterans on and talk about their experiences or?
We talk about everything, to be honest with you. We talk a little bit about business ownership and we talk about different nonprofits that come on and speak, but we also have veterans that come on and share their stories and their struggles. But we don't just want to share their struggles. We want to share how they overcame and adapted to let other people know that, man, growth and maturity and taking responsibility for your own actions. I mean, this shit goes a long way.
Yeah.
Man, I if you would have told me that I would have been here a few years ago, I would have told you shut the hell up, because it was unrealistic to even think, man, and God willing, God, I feel like God did this, he put me on the path of sobriety and I had to learn life lessons. And I'm like a lot of people. How do we learn them? The hardest way possible, right? Yeah. and that's the path I went. So I ended up, so we linked up, man, and then, damn, I forgot what we were talking about.
The message.
Oh, the message, yeah. So Charlie Mike means continue the mission. So that was one thing that we always push to everybody. Like, it's okay to struggle, man. You just got to continue. You got to continue the mission. Charlie Mike, and that's something that we learned in the military. Regardless of the situation, Charlie Mike, keep going, push forward. And a lot of people relate to that, man. And what's crazy now is it's not just military people that are using that they're not using the saying. It's not just military people using the saying. We've seen like normal people be like, hey, Raul, Charlie Mike. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. So it's surreal, man. It's still surreal. Or like when you see somebody wearing your merchandise or things like that. Me and my daughter ordered pizza one time, man, and the pizza man showed up and he was wearing my shirt.
Oh, wait, for real?
Yeah, brother.
Finish that story?
Yeah, man. The real story. She goes, Dad, he's wearing your shirt. I was like, she goes, tell him. But I was humbled as hell. I was like, man, I said, how do you know that company? He's like, oh, my dad's a veteran. you know, and then Paul, he was telling me the story. I was like, oh, that's what's up, man. I heard those guys are pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah.
And we learn a lot through podcasting. I'm sure you guys have too. You know,
Oh, yeah.
bringing folks on, sharing that story is it's a humbling experience. And then to have people share, I tell almost every guest this when we come on. After we have a conversation like this, when you're on the show, I'm like, you got a friend right here. And a fan, because now you've shared so much of those vulnerabilities with me, and I'm smarter because of it. You know, now I get to share your story related to another veteran or help somebody else out. And you know, veterans are very diverse. Every background, every ethnicity, every pay, poor, rich, doesn't matter. Somebody served, and then to be able to be part of that group is, again, a humbling experience. For them to share our stories with us like that, and support is awesome.
Yeah, man. People come in here and they sit down at the podcast and they talk to us, and then they get up and be like, man, I haven't shared that story with anybody. It's just, I felt comfortable. That's what it is, man. That's what it's about. We, you know, this whole idea was built on, a wish and a dream. Yeah, I wish you would have seen this place before we got in here, man. We were actually looking at another place down the street, and I came over here. I don't even remember how I came over here, but this place was tore up. Like, it had been not used for years. And when I brought him in, I said, hey, man, I need you to use your imagination. He walks in, he goes, like, there was a lawnmower right here, weed eaters over here, 2 AC units just on the floor. Everything was jacked up. But, I mean, it's crazy to think what you can do.
Yeah, I remember drawing out like the layout on a sketch, you know, I have it on my tablet of what I wanted, how it all to look. It's better than what I imagined, you know. And then, you know, to attract folks like you to be able to find us on Google, you know, and it's a humbling aspect, because here we are on your show, right, in our studio, and it's surreal, you know, for you guys to have us on too. It's an honor, it really is.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Like, we got that vibe from you guys as soon as we walked in, like how helpful y'all are, how you right away you explained everything, and then even after we booked our first podcast, you connected us to the local paper. Like, just, you guys have that, what would you call it? Like that.
It was a welcoming experience. We walked in, y'all were like, yeah, check it out. It wasn't anything like, oh, we charge this much and this is what it's going to be. It wasn't about making money with y'all. It was a connection right off the bat. And y'all were just super welcoming. Y'all were super helpful, informative. It's like, whatever we can do to help, we're here for. And that's, you don't find that everywhere. So it's very cool to find that. And I mean, having y'all here now speaks for how much we felt that right off the bat.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was like, they want us on the show.
I said, both those? Have they heard me speak before?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's hard to cultivate that, you know, that brand or whatever it is we're going for, and that's it, you know, that's service. Yeah, really try to provide you more value than you'll actually get from us. You know, feel like, hey, you know what, I think we may have underpaid those guys, which is perfect, which is where we want to be. You know, always doing one more thing, like trying to get you guys up too. You know, we may be here. We want you guys up with us. All about the community.
I think that's one thing, man. When people ask like a picture or something that describes us, you ever seen like the guy, he's on a mountain, he's reaching down to pick somebody else up. You know what I'm saying? So just the hands. That's what I feel like we do, man. And it's nothing we do, like we don't have secrets. Nothing, you know, we're not like, hey, we'll tell you, like, this is how we do everything from A to Z. And I can tell you that M through whatever didn't work, so don't do that shit. You know?
Yeah.
So, man, like, we're just two guys that been blessed, man. We're in an incredible position, and the word is out about the studio. We've been packed. We've been also saying,
Really?
yeah, it's insane. We're doing a documentary right now, or piecing together a documentary on PTSD. So a guy came in here and gave us 17 hours of footage and said, hey, listen to this and tell me what you think. I said, man. Yeah. He's probably going to watch this and be like, damn. You did a good job, bro. Yeah.
More quality audio, try to piece it together, make it sound good on the other end.
Okay. So when you guys are gonna...
Yeah, we're helping him with
Okay.
that part of it.
Yeah.
When I say we, it's him.
It's crazy. Like, yeah, it's crazy. Like I'm listening to the interviews, and Like I stayed here, I think till like 12:31 last night, just listening, and this shit's crazy because they're telling stories from like nurses, doctors, firefighters, police officers, but like talking about stories from COVID and how it affected them, and post-traumatic stress disorder affects them and their job relating. It's surreal. I never actually sat and thought about it. It's pretty crazy to hear the stories.
I have a cousin who's a nurse, and she's like, you get to the point where you see someone die, you don't really feel anything anymore.
But you got to do that, and that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like us when we went to war. We went to war, and we weren't the same. We weren't the same people that got there that left, because we had no emotions at the end, because we didn't know whether the guy to the left or the right was not going to be there. When we closed our eyes at night or when we woke up in the morning, and it messes you up. It really does. It messes you up. Because I don't think the human mind is meant to work that way.
Yeah.
It's just a mind.
I disagree.
You don't?
It is meant to work that way.
You do?
War has been around for as long as we know it, right? Even in the Bible. So I think it's a select few that get to experience it and then share those experiences with everybody else. Don't get me wrong, I wish those guys would have came back alive. Those lessons, now we can share them with them and their audience. So it's like, it's a weird thing, we, of course, we know we're older than you guys, and not still young though, at least me, but you.
I'll be 41 next week.
Damn. And no,
Yeah, yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks?
2 weeks and a half.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I know his birthday. He doesn't. No, I think it's for us, it's the experience to be able to share with y'all. Like, yeah, it was difficult. Yeah, it was tough. But here's the lessons that I've learned.
What would you say some of those lessons are?
And one of the biggest things for us when it comes to it is taking care of each moment, finding what you're grateful for, and living in that moment. I think about it. I've been talking about it over the last week or so on my Instagram stories, like the things that I do to be where my feet are, because every moment you don't know where it is. And then we get used to it, right? We get used to coming into work or driving home, and it's instant, everything can go away.
Yeah.
So how do I keep myself that way? Well, I remember, we wear our bands that help us remember those that we've lost and like try to live better for that. So for me, it's finding what I'm grateful for and then being where my feet are. Like, feet are right here.
Yeah, be present in the moment.
Everything else can wait. And I can handle it when I get there.
I like that.
Yeah.
What you, brother?
Oh, dang.
Me, I got the questions.
Ditto.
Please.
Nah, what we've learned, like, what do you mean, like throughout the military or just like in general?
Like I noticed you guys are very helpful. Like even when Kelly, we had her on last time, and you guys were helping her with the ratings, which I know nothing about, but you guys right away were like, oh, you're a veteran. Are you doing this? You can do this. So I know you guys have like that type of help, but then also like you went through the addiction and then you got out. What would you say like was like one of the biggest lessons or the biggest takeaway or something that you can tell someone listening, maybe like a new listener who's also a veteran going through something, doesn't talk to anyone about it?
It's never too late to change. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. Man, I just started learning how to live life, and I've never been as happy as I am right now. Like, just once I found sobriety and being clean, you had to make it gay.
Sorry. For you listening, I put my hand on his shoulder. Support him. I'm showing you support.
Oh, my bad. So like through everything, it's just, and you don't have to be 21, 25. I was 37, 36 when I decided it was time. And I'm just barely living my best life, man. I'm blessed with the things and the people that I have in my life. I come to work and I'm smiling, bro. I leave and I'm smiling. And it's like, it's stupid. Like I just didn't, I never saw this. And I always saw people like, man, what's that fool so happy? I'm like, man, I'm that fool now. Yeah.
What made y'all join? What made y'all decide to join? Everybody has their own reasons where they were at in life or stuff like that. I've heard on some of your podcasts I was listening to, but that way the people listening can hear that as well.
Yeah. Honestly, man, 9/11 was the push for us. Push for me. I had just graduated high school, and 9/11 happened. Well, I had just graduated high school in May of the year, of 2001, and then in September is when 9/11 happened. So I was hungover, laying on my homeboy's couch because we had a big party the night before.
Underage.
Yeah. Stupid, ain't it? Yeah. and a buddy of mine ran in and turned the TV on and was like, look. So I looked at the TV and I was like, hey, man, what movie is this? And he's like, oh, that's not a movie. This happening. I said, no, it's not. So I started watching it, and we saw the second plane hit, and I was like, man, I want to do something. But at the time, I've always had a troubled past, man. So I was dealing with some legal issues. And once I cleared all that up, man, I was like, I'm gone. I didn't tell anybody either, bro. I just went. Actually, we just had my daughter, and then I had went to the store, and next to the store there was a recruiter, and I was like, man, I've been talking about it. It's time to do it. So I went in there, and the guy was like, yeah, man, we were doing waivers and all kinds of shit because they were trying to get everybody into good, because it was push time.
Yeah,
everybody was going to war. So I was like, all right. So one thing led to another. Next week, 2 weeks, I was gone.
Damn.
Yeah.
I come from a military family. My dad's a Marine, and I joined the Army. And I've got uncles that were in the Army. I got great-grandfathers that served. So I always knew I was destined to kind of go. My mom wanted me to go to college. I tried San Jack for a couple of years. It just wasn't for me. I remember 9/11. I was a junior high school. And so I was like, I want to do more. And I just finally came to a point where, like you said, I got to go figure it out. Let's go talk to them. Talk to everybody, Marine, Navy, Army. My Marine story, everybody's got one, but it's like they're very prideful. You get to be Marine, and I'm like, okay, cool, but the Army says that they'll give me $20,000. They're like, yeah, but we don't do that. Marine. Well, I mean,
what's that? That's not good enough for me.
Yeah. It was also other things like the same benefits. When I was in the Army, I got to go pick my school. I got to be an infantry guy. That's what I wanted to do. Get to jump from airplanes. Can't really beat it.
Yeah, definitely. And like we always tell everybody, man, it was some of the best and worst times of my life. Do I miss it? I do miss it. I miss it a lot. But no regrets. I don't have no regrets. Yeah, I mean, if they called tomorrow, I wouldn't go.
There was a time, probably a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, man, I'd have gone back.
Yeah.
Right where, actually, when Afghanistan was going down.
Oh, yeah.
If they needed me, I'd go back. Now I'm like, that, man, I'm good.
Oh, man, there's a couple of times I go and check the mail, and there's like a letter from like the Department of Defense, and I'm like, oh, shit. Open it real quick.
Open the side.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, it's been, that's a true story. I was like, oh.
I'm calling back.
How long would you say it took you to like reintegrate back into real life?
You
don't. Me?
You don't?
Yeah, you don't. Some things never change. You still, things still affect you differently. I depended on drugs and alcohol when I got out for years. I didn't until I got in trouble. I got in trouble for a DWI here in Pearland, and thank God I hurt nobody. It was just me by myself. The police officer actually pulled me over for indecisive lane change because I wanted McDonald's. Then I changed my mind and said, nah, I want Whataburger. And then I changed my mind and said, I want Taco Bell. So I went from lane to lane to lane.
Just being Hispanic, bro. You know.
Hey, so the guy, the police officer, we're friends now. So he pulled me over, pulls me out, and he's like, hey, let's do these tests. And I was like, oh, it's cold out here, bro. I'm drunk. Let's go. Like, come on, take me. So he took me. Yeah, but through that, they put me in a program called Veterans Court. So Veterans Court it's not a second chance, but they make you do all these requirements. Like you have to go to counseling, You have to go to a rehab facility. You have to find out what the issue is, that's causing this, what's causing your drinking, what's causing your drugs. And I found it. Yeah, I was like, shit, I'm not, something wrong. And, since then, I haven't looked back. We started the apparel line. We started this podcast studio. We started the podcast. I built friendships that become family members. I fixed my own family, because I am, the only regret I have is not being I've always been a good father, and I felt like I was always a good person, but I missed those early years, like being, just being a dumbass. You know what I mean? And I regret that. I regret that. That's what I regret.
You asked about that transition. The transition is difficult, and it's never ending because you're forever changed for it, for the good, But like I'm sure you guys are, like, depending on, what you've been through, it just makes you a different person, But for us, it's ingrained the entire time. You spend your entire life in the military, even if it's just the 4 years. It's the most formidable years. Like, the reason why it's 18 is for a reason, and it comes from, like, the ancient Chinese. They found that age was the most impressionable, right around 18. And so you figure average age is 4 years in the military, 8 to 22, your most formidable years, and you're becoming almost brainwashed. It's service, it's discipline, it's finding yourself. That's why it's like one of the best things you could do. And that's what we're on path for. Our mission now is to help others figure out, if you can take my lessons, or if not, join the military yourself. Because you learn a lot about it. We on our podcast, we talk about it a lot. It's one of my big questions. What makes veterans so different? Why are they better? And it's like, well, they show up to work.
We're stubborn
because we know we need to. We know we have to be there. And then they like to know, for veterans, we like to know the path forward. Like, we like rank structure. I understand the rank structure. Okay, who's my boss? Who do I got to check in with? So for us as entrepreneurs, it was difficult. Because we got to make ourselves do this stuff. We got to do the hard things, but it's our passion, so it's fun, and we don't mind doing it. But still, it's like, for a lot of vets, it's difficult because what's next? Like, there has to be that constant movement. Like, for us in the military, the next rank, the next school, the next duty station. You make new friends, and then you come home, and it's like nobody really does that because it's just a unique situation. You're all the same age. You're all trying to do the same things. You all roll together. Like, you build that family. And you get out and you have to, like, build a new family. That's why we always talk about the veteran community. Get involved again.
Is that one of the things you said, how you said you missed it? Is it the camaraderie you have around it, just being with the people all the time?
Like, when I was in the Army, every time I'd wake up in my house or whatever, I was never alone. I always had people there. There was always people around me. So it's like I didn't know that I was actually struggling, because I always had people there, and everybody was going through the same thing. Like, even, seriously, I'd go to sleep, man, and there'd be nobody in my house. Then I wake up, it'd be like 7 people, like, eating my food, playing my video games. I miss that shit.
I'll eat the food.
No, there ain't no food in my house. Yeah, but it's just fun, like, coming downstairs and be like, I got next. We're playing Madden, and then I'm thinking about, man, how come we ain't at work? I remember we used to do sports PT, man. So they say, all right, hey, so Moreno, you're in charge, y'all go do sports PT. You say, okay, cool. Hey, man, I'll meet everybody at my house. We're going to play football. Get back to my house and we play Madden. You know what I'm saying? That was fun. I miss that. Yeah. But I still keep in contact with a lot of the guys, man. We still do things. Social media makes it a lot easier. I text random people every day in the morning. But
like random numbers?
No. That'd be cool. Well, I meant like different people, like my call list, but I don't say hello. I just text them. I say, hey, F you. You know what I'm saying? And then it's kind of like it's in the military, it's like, okay, yeah, I love you, man. Like, I'm thinking about you. You know what I mean? But you just don't. Yeah, so you get a bunch of weird stuff back. Sometimes you get some inappropriate pictures. It's crazy.
Not me.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Yeah.
I got weird friends.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
This episode was brought to you by BCN Supplements, our all-natural supplement company. First off, we have our hydrolyzed collagen. This is a 4-in-1. It comes with vitamin C for better absorption, hyaluronic acid, and biotin. So this is good for your skin, your hair, your nails, and your joints. And this is for both men and women. Next up, we have our immunity, which is a 7-in-1 vitamin. It has vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, echinacea, elderberry, black pepper, and garlic bulb. So this will give your immune system that extra boost. And lastly, we have our natural pre-workout. It does have 325 milligrams of natural caffeine from green tea. It is sweetened with stevia, and its purpose is energy, focus, and endurance. And for our listeners, we do have a discount code. If you visit our website, www.bcnsupps.com, you can use code BUILT, B-U-I-L-T, for 10% off. Thank you so much for listening. So you also do webinars,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So what I do is I also do leadership training. I'm a giant consultant, and I am passionate about helping others. I like to take teams and help them find their voices, figure out who they are, and then how do we teach tools that are easy for them to learn and use in their everyday life. It's all about knowing who you are so that you can, because you're responsible for it. For me, a couple of years ago, I went down that leadership path, and it was like, man, everything is leadership. Everything for me now is leadership. It just depends on how you see it. You know, I lead my household, lead this organization, I lead other organizations. Like, for me, it's all on me. And when I can start taking responsibility of that and learn what tools and how to talk to people, it made it easier. And so one of the things we do here is we do monthly lunch and learn on the first Wednesday of every month. And then because Juan wanted to do it, I was like, all right, man, I'll do a webinar. And so I made it virtual this last time. So I might do it again for July. A webinar, because, hey, if people are interested, I'm always happy to teach. It's one of the passions of mine. I love talking about it because I know if I can get the message across accurately, that it'll make you better.
And then anyone can join?
Absolutely. You can
share that.
Yeah, you can look us up on Pearland Podcast Studio. We always post it on that page. And then you can follow my page. It's @MustacheWisdom. Yeah.
Is that something you picked up? You'd say you picked up from the military? Was that leadership
Absolutely.
instinct in it? Because I say everybody can be a leader, but not everybody is born a leader. Some people have to learn it. So you feel like you were born a leader, or do you feel like the military ingrained that in you to become a leader and be able to show other people how to do it?
You know, I do like that saying, and that not everybody is born a leader, but I disagree. I think everybody, you lead yourself first, and in order to be a good leader, you got to be a good follower, truly.
Yeah.
And how do we do that first? As kids, we follow our parents, pick up their habits, their tendencies, and then you start to exhibit the same things. People watch you no matter what you do, especially on socials now. So how you operate, you're leading and influencing others. John Maxwell is a famous leadership thought leader. He says leadership is influence. Nothing more and nothing less. So if leadership is influence, even the way what we post online is leading others. Sometimes it's leading them to our products, Sometimes it's trying to lead them to do good things that we want from them, but it's still leadership, So the military does set us up for that leadership because it's what good leadership is and what bad leadership is, and it's the extremes for me. Like, you're always under stress, and at the worst case scenario, if you don't make the right decision, people's lives get lost. Worst case scenario, right? And so you're constantly thinking about that. How do you react to contact? How do you take the situation, be the calmest person in the room, and be able to lead the next guys? Even if you're just the lowest guy, you still have to do your job. You have to know what's next. Okay, I can almost anticipate what he's going to say next. I can almost anticipate where they want me to go. So it's you to learn your job first. So I have to be really good at being, a rifleman. Then as you get to know that job, that technical skill, you start getting other people's jobs. So leadership is almost a two-sided coin. First, you got to learn your skill, then you got to learn others and those skills to help them get to where.
He's too humble though, man. Like you sit down and listen to this guy's talk for a little bit and make you believe you can do anything. You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna say it reminded me of the book. I'm sure y'all probably have read it. Extreme Ownership by Jocko.
Yeah.
I love that book. It's so good.
It's technical too. That book can kind of be a hard read for folks. Did you find that?
I did the Audible. It was actually him reading it. His voice was very powerful, so it kept me. I don't usually do audibles because I start drifting. I start thinking about other things. But with him, it was very his voice keeps your attention.
Yeah.
So I really liked it. It's a really good message.
Did you read it?
Not yet.
Not yet. No, it's good.
I'm still finishing my Matthew McConaughey book.
Oh man, Green Lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I haven't seen it yet. Or read it yet.
Listen,
I'll tell you what. I got. Oh yeah.
Listen to it because Matthew McConaughey can tell a story, and the way he says stuff. Yeah, bro. You're driving and you're just like. Yeah.
It's on my list. It's on my list. Next trip to San Antonio.
Yeah, I'll be honest, man. I'm not a reader. I just.
Steal that Audible.
I think I will. I'll check it out. Yeah, I think.
He listens to podcasts.
Yeah. Well, the podcasts I listen to are comedians and things like that. I listen to Joe Rogan. I listen to Mike Tyson. I listen to Theo Vaughn.
Oh, Theo's funny.
Yeah,
He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
He's crazy, but he's funny.
He's funny. Yeah, he's one of my favorites, man. And God, that's pretty much it. I
read a lot of books. Actually, lead a book club.
Yeah.
So the first Saturday of every month, I gotta write that email. The first Saturday of every month, we pick a book. This book is Future Leader. It was an Audible book, so it was free.
Okay.
But talk about it. Okay, what are we actually doing? How do we do this? How do we apply this? That's the key.
Yeah.
You can read. I can run through Audible books. I'm actually applying this.
Yeah.
I like that. So, I don't know much, right? But so we have people like you with that mentality of being leaders, being disciplined, ownership, and then you hear a lot about homeless people who are veterans. What would you say is the difference between? Is it just a personality thing? Is it different circumstances?
I think a lot of times, actually, I feel like it's asking for help. You get put in a situation and you don't want to ask for help, especially veterans are taught, that you can do everything by yourself or you don't need anyone. So if let's say the veteran lost his job after he got out of the military, and instead of asking for help, saying, hey, I need this, which there are numerous nonprofit organizations that just assist veterans that they probably could have reached out to, but they didn't because they're stubborn. So instead of doing that, they went to live in the streets, and then it snowballed from there. I see that. I hear that a lot, why are you out here? It's because they were too prideful to ask for help. And sometimes, it's okay to ask for help, regardless of what the situation is. And I that's my opinion, and that's what I've seen.
I think that's part of it, and like you said, it's a little bit of ownership. At the end of the day, if you can't take responsibility for your actions, if you start pushing blame everywhere else,
oh yeah,
that's who has the power. Everybody else, not you. Well, you can say, this was me, this is mine. And so, I've had the honor to work with some homeless veterans and some homeless veteran organizations, and they do everything they can, but some of it really is the system. The hardest part is for those vets who have a home but are getting ready to leave. Organizations can't help them because they're not homeless. They still have that home, so they have no choice, or they feel like they get desperate if they have kids with them or whatnot, and it's like, what do I do? Because you can't help me until I'm homeless, and once I'm homeless, then you can help me, but I'm already going to lose my home, and then it's very difficult. There's a little bit of that gray area, and then it's just understanding the resources. A lot of times vets, like you said, have a hard time asking for help, and then they'll ask once, and that organization, wasn't a good fit for them, then they won't ask anybody else.
Yeah.
But Houston has over 250 organizations unique organizations with veteran service. So they could take them fishing or hunting, or they could be homeless, or they could be apply for grant. There's a lot of services, but chose this one and it didn't work out for them, and they won't try anyone else. 200 of them, man.
Yeah.
You're going to get a bad one occasionally. that's what we do on our show as well. It's just, hey, here's some of the smaller ones that you don't know about. That, the one we just aired with Combat Marine Outdoors, it's taking vets hunting, but the thing is, they also make sure it gets mounted, because then you can mount it at your house, and every time you're walking around, you remember what that was like. Hey, you know what? There's somebody out there that took me hunting, and it's the camaraderie again, being around like-minded people. And they're like, they said the story, like, you can see them at the beginning, how they're tentative, and then at the end, they just open up because they feel seen and heard.
Yeah. Taking ownership, being responsible. I mean, sometimes, okay, I'm gonna say this, and we always get hate when I say it. Some veterans are just okay being the broken veteran and don't want to be better. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah. So like if I'm struggling with PTSD and I say, oh, that's why I'm drinking, that's why I'm doing drugs, I'm putting the blame on that instead of saying, okay, how do I fix this? How do I make myself better? How do I take responsibility for it? They're okay with just feel bad for me, man. Because,
outside of that, but just like psychology in general, you learn that everybody's addicted to something. Some people choose to be addicted to bad things, some people will choose to be addicted to good things, but everyone's addicted to something. And one of those things sometimes is suffering. There are people who are addicted to suffering. And you'll see it in everyday people, outside of the military. They're like, oh, I had a rough childhood, and they stay there. And you're like, okay, but that was like years ago. And they still suffer every day because they're addicted to suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of that was like, you see everyday, I mean, I say everyday people, but normal civilians that aren't veterans or didn't serve or anything, that a lot of people, even I say from like a man standpoint, a lot of people have trouble asking for help even there. And then taking that ownership, saying, hey, I messed up. I see it at work and stuff, like somebody would do something and be like, oh, well, it's because so-and-so from this and that, instead of just being like, hey, I messed up. Like, it's on me, I messed up. And I think that's something really big to the people I feel like could pull from y'all's podcast, because it is for veterans and it's veterans based. I understand that, but I think it's something that everybody could do. Everybody can pull from that, and grow from it and become a better person. So I think that's really cool.
I appreciate it, man. That it's humbling to hear. It really is. We've had a couple of things happen like within the last few days, and it's surreal. Like, we saw a couple of newspaper articles that were talking about the podcast studio, and they're like Houston area podcasters, and I sent them the message, and I was like, dude, they're talking about us. Like, we're podcasters.
Yeah.
It's surreal.
Yeah, and then we had someone come in, and they want us to do a webinar or a seminar, an in-person seminar here locally, because they've heard the Charlie Mike podcast. And I asked her, like, how'd you hear about us? Did you serve? And she was like, no, I think she heard from the grand opening, and then so she listened to the podcast. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool for her to say the same thing. He actually got something from it. And I'm like, that's great. It goes back to the being able to tailor your story to one person, right? Man, who are we talking to? Being able to talk about one person. You said that right during the show just now. Being able to talk to that person that you were. Sorry, it's been a long day. So being able to talk to that one person, right? The more likely person that you were. And for me, that's what I do. Like, a lot of my videos I make in the morning, they're for me who I was when I needed it.
Yeah.
And so when my avatar is a 33-year-old B that needed to hear it, even though he probably wouldn't have, right? He probably wouldn't have listened. But that's who they're for. And it's glad to see that other people resonate with that message. They needed it too. And then they hear this lady come on and be like, hey, hearing your episode with Mark Vital really made a difference. I really enjoyed that one. Wow, that's again, the humbling experience.
It's crazy, because she came in and she's like, we want y'all to talk at the next was it webinar?
Yeah, some
seminar or something like that. And I was like, you want to talk? She goes, yeah, just talk about business and entrepreneurship. And I was like, both of us? Like, at the
He's like, I'm not gonna do it, man. You're just gonna go. I'll be there to cheer you up. And I'm like, all right.
I tell him, I said, I'm gonna get on there, say something inappropriate, and everybody's gonna look at me crazy. And I'm like,
They'll make it more fun.
you can say, I think that's one thing that people like about the podcast too, is that, man, we're serious, but we laugh. We laugh too. It's never too serious to be fun. You know.
Yeah. That's one thing you guys don't understand too about veteran humor. It is dark.
Dark is complete.
Dark. Hey, because you get, I don't know, death does those things to you. You're just like, well, you know.
Yeah.
Almost died, bro. Yeah. Totally. It was awesome.
We have a, you know, I'm going to tell you about this guy right here. Let me tell you something. So when he said he wanted to be, you know, involved in the podcast and things like that, I brought him on. And then so the company was already a couple of years old. So we brought him on. I tell him, I say, man, he says, you know, we started talking about, you know, ownership of the company, things like that. So I was like, I'm willing to do this, but you have to do one thing for me. He said, what's that? I said, man, you be the face of it. I said, you run, you do all the networking, you show up, to people see you. I want you to be the face of everything. I said, just let me chill in the back. I want to talk. It has been working.
Yeah. It is true. He did say that. Just go be the face, bro. I need you to do everything else I don't want to do. I got you.
You tell me when to show up and shake hands and kiss babies, and I'm out. I said, let's just have fun. We've been having fun.
Yeah,
we've been having fun, man.
Yeah, whenever the first time we came in here, we talked to you, and then I think we kind of thought it was yours. And then I was listening to the podcast, the very first episodes, and it's just you. And I was like, wait. I was like, it was just Raul at first.
Yeah. And when we came in, Raul was like doing stuff, and he was just acting like he's like, I just work here. I wanted to talk to us. But both of y'all would still give us that really welcoming feeling right off the bat. Not take anything away from that, because y'all were both very like, hey, how's it going? What do y'all need? What are y'all doing? What are y'all trying to do? What is y'all's podcast? What do y'all got going on? Y'all wanted to know who we were and what we were.
I dig it, man. I like the logo. I like the podcast. You know, I like what you guys are about. We were able to follow you on socials and stuff. So
hey, I've learned a lot from your podcast. No BS, like seriously. Like, yeah, man. Hey, I still, when somebody say something like, I'm cramping, I was like, how's your diet? Bro. I told her, I said, man, I feel like I got a doctorate in women's bonding.
Yeah, and that's whenever you said kind of finding your purpose, take what happens to you. A lot of people say take what happened to you and then talk to that person, be the person you wish you would have had. And for me, it's like I've been able to do a lot of different things searching for that purpose. But in that journey, I've met so many people, learned so much that I'm like, everything I've learned, I want to share with everybody else, because at some point I didn't know that. So I'm assuming there's somebody out there who doesn't currently know that. So I'm like, let me tell you about what I just learned. And then that's why I love doing the podcast.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Lewis Howes actually, he just did a podcast with Ed Milet.
Oh yeah.
And he talks about his book, The Mindset of Greatness. And what he does, he speaks to that younger him. He takes it as far as he was trying to deal with some trauma as a 7-year-old. So he had a picture of him as a 7-year-old on his phone. So he remembered every single day, I'm doing this for that kid. Once he finished that stage, he was going to go to his high school reunion. So it's a 17-year-old self. He has a picture of him. He's like, I'm doing this every day. Like everything I'm doing, it's for that kid that to be that person I needed when I was 17 years old. So that's really cool that it's like somebody who they're supposed to be on this grand scale, the things they're doing, they're touching a lot of people, but y'all are doing the exact same thing here on both podcasts. It's doing the same thing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's helpful, man. I listen to Lewis Howell too. I used to listen to him almost every day. It's a lot. So I've actually been listening to Gary Vee a lot, marketing and how do we grow. But Lewis Howell is a phenomenal person, and one thing that I've learned from him is the way he asks his questions, right? Like being able to stay curious, and it was like that's what podcasting has done. So if you're out there and you're looking for a podcast, come hit us up. We'll let you know. No, podcasting is great for that. You know, we just get to ask questions. And pick your brains and let you tell us your story. And then, he talks about 3 truths at the end, and he's had some really great guests. But you mentioned the screen. I use that a lot. I use the screen or a visual tool all the time. Just depending on what I'm working on. A couple of years ago, we went to Disney World, but that was last October. But before that, I would write it on my mirror every day. This is where I want to go. How am I going to get closer to that? So that same skill, he's using it to work on himself, working through that trauma. You can use it for other things as well. Yeah.
I feel like I was very driven at some point, like in my 20s, and it was always because the way I grew up, the childhood I had, and I was like, my drive was I never want to go back there. So that's what would push me. And now like I've gotten to a place where I don't really think about the past as much, but I'm more like I have my vision board on my screen, so now I do it for the things that I want. And I think that's a little bit healthier because I feel like throughout all those years, I've healed a lot of things that needed to be healed. So it's good because it drives you and it gets you to those places, but then you get to the point where you're like, okay, that no longer serves me. Now let me try it, find a different way.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. I think for all of us, not just vets or entrepreneurs, is, you start going on this journey, whatever it may be, and then you think you're chasing one goal, but it's the in-between that you're chasing. You actually get more dopamine from the progression of success than you actually do from achieving the goal. So it's like always putting the goalpost a little further. People hate that, but that's what drives us. Yeah. It is really what drives us. It's like, hey, we're going to get here, we're going to do this. And it's like, okay, well, how do we think bigger? And it's so crazy because my dreams are bigger than what they were like 6 months ago.
You're welcome.
Because now I can, they're like almost attainable. Now it's like, even the things I talk about, I'm like, I know I could do that. And we were just talking about it the other day. Like, man, I can see myself being a pilot and flying my plane from here to there so I can get to where I got to go. And I'm like, man, that is legitimately attainable, and that's so surreal and humbling to say, like, man, I can actually do that. I was like, okay, I dream a little bit bigger now.
Yeah, he's trying to fly the plane. I want my own pilot.
Yeah. I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
You'll catch me all United.
Oh, yeah, I'm cool. You fly and practice.
No, but that's so true. Like, I've been listening to this lady. She calls herself the Universe Guru, and she talks about how some people live like with the mindset of lack, and then people live with a mindset of abundance. But she was like, lack, she was like, that's zero, and that's it. That's as far as you can go. She was like, but abundance is endless. She was like, there's no cap to it. You can literally do whatever you want. Obviously, you have to put in the work and all this, but
yeah,
it's just like and she was like, it's never try to hold anybody down because just because somebody did good doesn't mean you're not going to. Like, there's enough for everybody.
I agree.
That's huge. That's huge for our community.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we speak about. I said, just because we did it and we're doing it, or there's still a lot that we want to do, but we don't keep secrets. You know what I'm saying? We want to share everything we know because it worked for us. I want it to work for you. I want it to work for you, kind of. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Your success doesn't take from my success. Yes. And that's what's great about podcasting too.
When you succeed, we succeed.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the big things we love about podcasting. My listeners could listen to you, and it doesn't mean that they're no longer my listeners.
Yeah.
They may just add it to their rotation.
Yeah, definitely.
Or maybe we might have someone who's a veteran and they didn't know about your podcast, and they're like, oh, let me go listen to them. And
yeah,
even if they switch over, and if they're getting more out of your podcast than mine, then I'm like, hey, that's what matters.
It's like your last guest when you brought her over, and hopefully she reaches out to us and we get her rating up. You know what I'm saying? Because that's something that she earned and she needs. But a lot of people don't.
John will be calling, I'm sure.
Bro, yeah, I hope so. That's why I told him. I said, man, you call if you have to. I said, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. It's all about serving, and that's what the podcast is. It's serving the other person on the other side of the mic. And when you can get there, it gets easier and it gets better.
It does, and it's fun. It's fun watching people, man. Like, it's fun watching y'all do this thing, and it's educational.
For those listening, Raul was here when we did Dr. Sarah. We were talking about the women's cycle, and you were texting your girlfriend asking her about her flow.
Yeah, I did. I texted her, hey, how's your flow today? She goes, what the hell are you doing? But I learned a lot.
That's good, yeah. And that's our goal, for people to learn from our guests and their experiences or their knowledge, whatever they know.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. When I came in, I sat down and y'all started talking. I thought, cause I'm kind of like, I'm old, so it's some subjects you're like, oh, you talk about,
Yeah.
things like that. So when you started talking, I was like, Are these guys messing with me? I was like, hold up. I was thinking that he was playing like a practical joke on me. And I was like, I'm waiting for Ashton Kutcher to jump out and be like, you've been punked. Yeah, but I was like, oh shit, this is real. But
And that's another thing. We want to make sure that people are talking about this because a lot of women usually feel ashamed or they don't want to talk to their partner about it. And then a lot of, I was talking to the guy from the nutrition store the other day. I was telling him about it, and he was like, it's surprising, how much men don't know about the woman body. And, it's like their wives, their sisters, their girlfriends, everybody has women in their life. And I was like, the saddest thing is that most women don't know about. And he was like, it's true. He's like, sometimes I'll be talking to a woman and I know more about her body than she does. And he's like, what? And so, just trying to bring awareness. And
Yeah, I've been listening to a few women-led podcasts, which one of them is actually she leads.
yeah,
She
did a link.
yeah, she probably enjoyed talking to you. But she podcast from us. That's why I put a plug in for her. But her name's Thea, and no, there was a few that I would listen to, and I'm like, babe, did you know your cycle is like 28 days? I had no idea. Yeah, and I'm like,
I thought he looked at me and said, babe. I was like, hey, hold up.
It wouldn't be the first time.
He said, babe. I was like,
No, I was
Smiling.
man, I had no idea that my sleep rhythm was a 24-hour day,
Yeah.
and yours is longer. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me.
We went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
She started learning about all that. She's like, well, in the morning you feel this way, this way, this way. I was like, no, I don't. Because I question everything.
Yes.
Everything somebody tells me, I'm like, no, that's not right. And I'll start thinking about it. I'm like, I am a morning person. I do wake up, go straight to the gym.
Yeah,
The day goes on. By the nighttime, I'm done with everything. I just want to go to sleep. I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I do have my seasons throughout my 24 hours.
yeah.
that's too funny, man.
So what other question can we ask you that's been like a hard question that you would like to ask a couple of vets?
well, I guess if you guys, I was going to ask if you guys have like a last thing you want to leave the listeners with.
Yeah, man, Charlie Mike, continue the mission. Keep pushing, regardless of how bad the situation is. Or there's always after this storm, there's always a sunny day. You know what I'm saying? So just keep pushing. That's what I want.
Pretty good.
Shut up.
No, for me, it all starts with self. If you can pour and get yourself right, everything else gets easier. So it's taking accountability, whatever you got to do to really start to grow. But when you do, like you said about the abundance, there's no reason that you, the listener, can't be right here where, it just takes a little bit of intentional effort. Pour into yourself, because you can't pour from an empty cup. That was my man right here. I was telling him, bro, I know you want to give. You got to be full first before you can give.
Yeah.
If someone wants to buy a t-shirt, where do they go?
Charlie Mike Military. I said that real proud. Charlie Mike Military Apparel.com. Yeah, be sure to check us out. We got our merchandise, and then if you want to follow the podcast, Charlie Mike, the podcast. This is ParalandPodcastStudio.com.
Yeah.
So yeah, be sure to check us out, and
Yeah, we appreciate you.
yeah, follow William. Mustache Wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, there's no point in giving out his handles.
Yeah, I follow you.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his handle is. But
Leave me alone. No,
okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on and being our guest.
we appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you. Seriously.
And thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure to follow, subscribe, and share with someone who you think this might be helpful for. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to Built from the Inside Out. If you enjoyed this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could benefit from it. Remember to subscribe to our podcast to stay connected. And here's a special treat for our loyal listeners. Use code BUILT at www.bcnsubs.com for a 10% discount on your next order of BCN supplements. Thank you for being part of our supportive community. We're glad you're here, and we hope you'll join us again in the next episode of Built from the Inside Out.